why daylight saving time exists and is so unpopular. The time shift started as a way to maximize limited daylight hours, but its benefits are debatable. Fall marks many changes: cooler weather, shorter days, leaves changing color. But for many people in the US, the approach of autumn also means the end of daylight saving time. This period, often incorrectly called daylight savings time, begins at 2 a.m. local time on the second Monday in March, when clocks bring forward an hour, typically causing observers to lose an hour of sleep. Daylight saving time ends at 2 a.m. local time on the first Sunday in November. When clocks fall back by an hour and observers get an hour of sleep. In 2023, daylight saving time begins on March 12 and ends on November 5th. The idea behind the clock shift is to maximize sunlight in northern hemisphere as they start to lengthen in the spring and then wane in the fall. The logic is that by springing forward and falling back, people add an hour to sunlight to the end of the workday. But the benefits of this change are controversial, and the shift can have measurable impacts on health. What's behind the changes in sunlight? Seasonal shifts in the length of a day come from Earth's off-kilter rotation. Our planet turns on its axis at a relatively constant 23.4-degree angle relative to its path around the Sun. This means that while the equator usually enjoys roughly 12 hours of both day and night year-round, the same isn't true the further north or south you go. Summertime marks the northern hemisphere's time to shine. It leans toward the sun, causing longer and warmer days. Meanwhile, the southern hemisphere is plunged into short days of winter as it tilts away from the sun. 6 months later, the situation reverts, and winter grips the north while light bathes the south. When cold still ruled, daylight saving time was implemented as a way to maximize limited daylight hours. Because of this, a given region's participation depends, in part, on how far the location is from the equator. Countries that farther away have a more pronounced difference in day length between summer and winter and are more likely to participate in the time shift. But why was daylight saving time created? Many credit Benjamin Franklin for daylight saving time thanks to a possibly satirical letter he penned for the journal De Paris in 1784. In the letter, he expressed astonishment to see the sunrise at the early hour of 6 in the morning, long before most Parisians ever saw the light of a day. If they were to rise with the sun, Franklin wrote, the city could save an immense sum from the candles burned in the dark evening hours. He never suggested a shift in clocks, however, instead offering other amusing solutions to the problem that included cannons firing in the street to rouse people from sleep, taxes for shattered windows, and candle sales restrictions. Other credit the idea of George Hudson, an entomologist from New Zealand, who in 1895 suggested a 2-hour shift to allow for more post-work buck hunting. Soon after, a British activist named William Willett proposed a similar idea to prevent wasting daylight, bringing the concept of England's parliament in the early 19,000s. It wasn't until resources became scarce during World War I that Germany decided to go ahead with just such a plan, implementing the first daylight saving time in 1916 to maximize resource use during sunlit hours. The United States soon followed suit, with the country's first seasonal time shift taking place in 1918. So, who observed daylight saving time? Not everyone is on the clock changing frenzy. In the United States, Hawaii, most of Arizona, excluding Navajo Nation, and the territories of Guam, Puerto Rico, American Samoa, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the Northern Mariana Islands all opt out of daylight saving time. Globally, the popularity of changing clocks varies as well. Most of North America, Europe, New Zealand, and a few regions of the Middle East are in on an annual shift, though each have different start and stop dates. But the majority of Africa and Asia do not change the clocks. South America and Australia are split on the matter. Europe's participation, however, soon may change. In 2019, the European Union voted to end the mandatory time shift, which previously spanned March and October. But that plan seems to be on hold for now. Member states were expected to decide by 2021 whether to stay on summer or winter time, but negotiations have stalled at the bloc deals with fallout from both Brexit and the COVID-19 pandemic. Are there any benefits to daylight saving time? For many, the change seems meddlesome, resulting in missed meetings or sleepy citizens. There may be even more severe effects. Some studies identify an increase in heart attacks that coincides with springing forward and a slight decrease with falling back. Other studies suggest the time change could be linked to an increase of fatal car accidents, though the effect is small relative to the total number of crashes each year. Still, other concerns include impacts to the immune system due to the inevitable sleep loss. What's more, many studies have questioned whether there have ever been energy savings at all. A 2008 study from the U.S. Department of Energy suggested that in the United States, an extra 4 weeks of daily saving time saved about 0.5% in total electricity a day, but others conclude the situation is largely a wash. The later sunlight hours often reduce electricity use during this time, but they also spur more intense use of air conditioning in the evening or greater energy demands to light up the dark mornings. Even so, those impacts may be location-specific. One study found that daylight saving time caused an increase in an energy demand and pollution emissions in Indiana, while others found it led to slight reductions in energy use in Norway and Sweden. These days, arguments in favor of daily saving time generally center on the boost of the time shift gives to evening activities. People tend to go outside when it's light after work, like playing sports, going for walks, taking kids to the playground, rather than sitting on the couch. Many outdoor industries, including golf and barbecue, have even promoted daylight saving time, which they say boosts profits. The petroleum industry is also a fun, as people drive more if it is still light after work or school. But in many places, the time shift is very unpopular. Eurospending move away from the annual change stemmed from a survey that revealed roughly 80% of some 4.6 million respondents were against daylight saving time, and some American states are also starting to push for changes. For now, if you live in a region that shifts the clock twice a year, be wary of its effects.